In the stock market, growth is always the name of the game.
The revenue for 2025 was up 704%.
But there are different ways to find it.
So I'm trying to be proactive ahead of time, so about 2 weeks ahead of time.
Lance Ippolito with Trading Pub shares a list of 3 growth stocks that all have completely different reasons to buy.
And it's just been bullish, bullish, bullish. We're talking anywhere between $200,000 orders.
3 different setups, but they all have one thing in common, and that's a lot of potential upside ahead. Lance, so great to have you back on the show. We always love having you on to talk about growth stocks, but today we're talking about growth a little differently. Let's talk about first what people traditionally think about when investors are looking for growth, but there's many different ways to find growth out there, right?
Exactly. I know we've been talking about AI stocks and quantum computing and all these hot new innovation that everyone wants to be a part of. And to be fair, they have been soaring, soaring, and it feels kind of like a market party. And maybe it continues and continues and continues until, in my opinion, OpenAI goes public, and then maybe we get some selling. But when we look at growth stocks, everything's up so much. And when I look at the comments, it's should I buy the stock? It's up 50%, 70% this year. And I'm, talking with you, Bridget, and I'm like, I don't really have any new names that are not household names now. So it's very, very difficult. So what I did today was I still tried giving your audience new stocks that maybe, well, 2, maybe you haven't heard of. But one is probably a name, and I'm actually drinking one of their $5 teas right now, is
Same.
Starbucks. Oh, there we go.
Yes, that's what we're going to start today. I think that's a funny way to start this video, but we have so many different stories to talk about with your list of 3 stocks today. But the first one is a name that everyone has heard of. It's Starbucks. Too funny that we're both drinking that coffee this morning. But let's talk about this company. Why did it make your list of a potential growth play?
Yeah, so I want to be full transparent. Really last quarter ago, I was very bearish on food and beverage stocks, from Kava to CMG to Sweet Green, kind of all that fast casual, even Starbucks, fast casual dining. And they all really tanked on earnings and haven't really bounced at all, despite the market, being up around 13% this year. So what was interesting is I had some Starbucks puts and I covered, and then I trade primarily short dated options. And I noticed that that day a trader bought about a month ago the Halloween, so October 31st, 78 puts. The stock went down. They covered their puts, meaning they closed them out and then reversed. They went through the drive-through at Starbucks and they said, "Give me some coffee." And they spent about $827,000 on the Halloween, October 31st, 82 calls, which is very, very unusual for a name like Starbucks because it just doesn't trade that much options per day. So I said to myself, and this was right near the 52-week lows because the stock is again going down. I said to myself, that's very interesting. It's a contrarian play, and you have so much negative sentiment on Starbucks right now. Why would this trader do this? And I thought, well, let's look at the risk versus reward. If everyone is negative on the company, where's the max pain? To the upside, because the shorts have to cover and the stock can rally. And I was looking a little bit too at the fundamentals. Remember, they just got their new CEO from the burrito stock, CMG. Could he really, just signing on, getting all this money, could he really let the company continue to fall? Because his, behind is going to be on the line. And I thought, it makes sense of why the stock could bounce. And I think that could play a big turnaround in this quarter. So I'm actually bullish short term on Starbucks.
Yeah, this is so interesting that just to look at the different ways that Starbucks could see a turnaround. I love that you mentioned the options. If you watched the show before, you've seen Lance's videos. He gives us some great growth plays that retail investors, even if you're long term, really great advice for them. But Lance is really known for dealing in call options every single day. If you want to check out his biggest trades of the day every day, make sure to check out this free new flow scanner right now. We have a QR code you can scan or a link right in the description to get more of Lance's daily top trades for free. They'll all give you great insights for those who are actually in the market every single day. But Lance, right now we're talking about more of these long-term plays and looking at Starbucks as a retail investor. Do you think that the changes the CEO is making, I know they're closing some stores, kind of limiting where they have stores, things like that. Do you think that this is enough to show up in the stock chart? And how long could it take before we actually see this stock get some momentum again?
So I never want to pick the bottom or the dead low, but I guess my behind is on the line, and I kind of am. So I'm actually looking for a play all the way till, again, the stock's right near 52-week low. I think you really have a turnaround towards the end of the month. I think they report October 28th, so that October 31st expiration does capture that earnings report, and stocks historically move 4 times a year, and that's earnings. So I think this could be, and again, as traders and investors, we want to be proactive, not reactive. So I'm trying to be proactive ahead of time, so about 2 weeks ahead of time to get in. And then hopefully post earnings, you start seeing Starbucks all over the media, how the stock's a turnaround story and how the new CEO is, kicking butt and he's making all the media appearances. And then that's when everyone wants to buy, right? Because it's good feelings. It's safe now. And that, in my opinion, it will be the perfect time to kind of trim some of the position, right? Because you capture that big move and you were in ahead of time. And that's my goal. When, I work with traders and host my trade room and everything, we always try to be proactive, not reactive. And when you do that, yeah, sometimes you're going to be early, but the big move usually happens around earnings. So we want to foreshadow and say, hey, if the stock can hopefully even run up into earnings and then post earnings rallies, those call options can have a fantastic risk versus reward. Or if you just like doing the stock too, it's not a very volatile stock. So you're not going to be like up and down 5-10% a day like you might with some, penny stocker.
A unique way to look at growth, which is what this video is all about. Well,
Yes.
let's move on to a different kind of growth story. What's the second stock you have for us today?
So I have a zinc play, and I know everyone's rare earth metals and lithium, and I'll be honest, I get it. I mean the sector is booming, but I felt like I couldn't bring too much value, probably giving a name your audience has heard of. There's so much like Lithium America, TMC, CRML, like all these stocks are just going up so much every day that those are the kind of names that can move, 5-10% a day. So you have to be a little bit careful out there. But this name, EOS Energy Enterprises, it's a relatively lower price stock, around 16 bucks a share. And what they are is they make zinc-based batteries, which you don't hear too often. Lithium's kind of the hot um, topic on Wall Street, but again, they've moved so much. Problem with lithium is, catch on fire, and what can happen? We all see some of those like EV vehicles catching on fire and stuff, and it kind of gets bad press. So I thought to myself, well, no one's really looking at zinc, so to speak, in this sector, and their quarter over quarter revenue is up about 46%, which, to be fair, is only 15.2 million. So it's not like it's a mega cap company, doing big numbers and everything like that. But they just nailed a $303 million loan guaranteed by the Department of Energy, which government contracts usually just, you know, I don't want to say print money, but it's very good to basically have government backing. There's no doubt about that. We've seen names like Palantir with that, and look what happened with that stock. And to add a little cherry on top, this stock in the option market, really for the past 3 to 4 weeks, it has not just been short-term call buying. Starbucks October 31st, that's pretty short term, right? That's the end of the month. But the call buying really started about a month ago, and they have been buying anywhere from November, so I would say that's like the shortest term, all the way to July, May, July, even January 2027 expiration call. So this is, again, going out in time, and they have been buying from the 11s, the 12s, the 15s, the 20s, even the 22 strike calls, which is a massive move. For the stock from 16 to 22, and it's just been bullish, bullish, bullish. We're talking anywhere between $200,000 orders to the biggest order was the November 20 strike calls, about 840,000. So the option market has been extremely aggressive in this lower price stock that's really not too well known yet in the industry, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's another really great thing that you bring to the table whenever you come on the channel is looking at the different call options out there and using that to find some good long-term growth plays for investors. So this is a great way to look for growth stocks. One thing about this one that really strikes me looking at the chart, it's had such a big run up already. Any chance that it's already reached that peak, or does the call activity kind of show that there's a lot more room to run still?
I think it's a name you have to look to buy on dips, and you could play it two ways. In my opinion, you could do the call options or you could do the common stock. So you're obviously in the common stock, you have better liquidity. The call options, you really get that leverage for better ROI. But what I love about these lower price stocks, usually stocks under 20 bucks, it's pretty friendly if you just want to do the stock too, because you're not spending an arm and a leg. So I like that. I actually like at the money calls just because it replicates the stock a little bit more than going out, like 20-30% out the money. But really, really strong chart. I do understand. And let's say the market does pull back 3, 4, 5% or so. Look for the stock to see if it gets hit. We've seen a recent pullback over the past couple of trading days, and the stocks remain green, which is really, really strong relative strength, which is what I, as a trader, like to see. And a red tape where a lot of stocks are, down a lot, if a stock can be green on the day, it really shows you that the stock has so much momentum to the upside.
Yeah, and the other benefit for this stock is it's just in such a huge momentum sector. The
Yes.
battery sector, the rare earth sector, we're seeing all of those stocks explode. So a new name in this sector is great, at least to add to the watch list. Thank you for this one, Lance. Let's get on to the third company you have for us. This one is really interesting to me.
Yes, a water solutions, water storage out there. The ticker is CDZI or Cadiz. I think it's Spanish. Cadiz, if you want to say it we'll say it a Spanish way, but CDZI, and it is a low price stock for you. Not penny stock territory, but right there, right shortly above it, around $6 a share. So it's what I love, and it's a name that I actually wouldn't have found if it wasn't for my news flow scanner, because I don't really Google what are some good water storage stocks to play for the stock market, right? So it really caught my attention earlier this month in October, where I saw a call buyer step in, and this name does not trade options too much, so it stuck out like a sore thumb. By the November monthly 5 calls for about 630,000 bucks, and I was like, whoa, what is this trader doing in this stock? So I had to, see what it was, look at the fundamentals, check out what does this stock do. And it's pretty interesting because we all know the Keystone Pipeline, and there's so much controversy back and forth with it. Well, what they're doing is they're using some of that steel from the Keystone Pipeline to be able to have a water storage. And we all know there's been so much issues in, let's say, certain states, cough, cough, California, with their water and droughts and such, that I was like, this makes sense of less regulation with, kind of the infrastructure, we'll say, the revenue for 2025 was up 704%, which I thought was absolutely insane because that's some growth. So I thought, low price stock, some pretty solid fundamentals in a sector I would say most people even think about, and large call buying in a relatively sleeper of a stock. I think this could be a growth story that maybe hits that double digit mark and prints over 10 to even $12 a share by first quarter of 2026.
Yeah, that's a lot of growth for this one. And I think that a really encouraging thing for investors looking at this, if you are one who follows what analysts say, it looks like there's a lot of room to run yet. But analysts agree that there could be a lot of upside on this one, even though it's had a pretty good last couple of months for this
Yeah.
company already. Any thoughts on what the analysts have to say about how high this stock could go to?
Yeah, so I think the analysts that cover it are really special because it's not like a Nvidia or AMD. So when you do have people kind of cover this name, they are really, really knowledgeable in it. And I think, like you said, with the big run it's had, the analyst upgrades and coverage when a stock gets higher, especially when it gets in the double digits, it will only get more analyst coverage. Because what happens is you have some institutions who can't buy stocks under 10 bucks because it's considered risky, and then $5, sub $5 considered penny stock. So it doesn't really get a lot of institutional coverage and institutional buying. But if it crosses that $10 mark, it kind of becomes more broad coverage, so to speak, by Wall Street. And I think that can only drive the growth factor for the name. And a lot of these general analysts are always going to be late to the party, or they're going to love the stock when it already goes up so much. So I think being able to pick out certain analysts that are super specific in the name and read what they have to say before it becomes a household name is very, very smart.
Yeah, really good point on this one. And one of those classic, more hidden gem growth stocks that you brought
Yes.
to us before. You've got such a good track record of the stocks you've talked about on this channel doing really, really well. And I think the same is true. The trades that you share every day with the news flow scanner. Again, we have a free option here. You can scan the QR code or click the link in the description of this video to access Lance's free news flow scanner right now and try it out just to see what other names he shares there. Lance, really quick, share a little bit of what you share on that show and on that program every day.
Yeah, so what I do is I track the largest option orders in the world in real time, and that's very important. That's what the news flow scanner does. As soon as a six-figure order comes, so we're talking anywhere between $100,000 or even recently we saw over 17 million in Microsoft put options. So it's going to show you bullish orders that you want to buy stock or buy calls, and it's also going to show you bearish orders that names you want to either short or buy put options are. So it's going to show you about 40 to 60 orders a day in real time. It's going to show you tickers from AMD, Nvidia, Google, Amazon, all the way to tickers that we talked about today that are kind of under the radar. Names like CLSK or RXRX, or a lot of the USAR, CRML, some of those metal stocks, right? And the goal is that it can open your eyes of how institutional trading is done in the options market. So we're looking to piggyback in real time the biggest hedge funds, the best traders in the world, and it will actually show it to you. Just like if you could go on Google or Yahoo or Facebook, it's a simple web page where you don't have to do anything. It automatically updates. It's going to give you the ticker, the expiration, the strike price, how much money they spent, and it's going to tell you if it's bullish or bearish. So you can copy along. And what we do is we love to live trade and go over the biggest orders each day. So you can kind of get that education, that visual, and I'll go over my top names that day. So our top longs and our top shorts that you can follow along, and love to have you.
All really good information and such a great way to look at stocks, following the big plays out there and just following that playbook. I love it, Lance. If you want to learn more, again, click that link in the description. It's a great free way to try out what he's talking about. Lance, always so great to see you and talk about these unique names that you have for us. Thank you again for your time today.
Thank you all. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I check all the comments, or at least try to.
Yes, that's what I want to hear from you guys too. What do you think about these three different strategies for finding growth? Whether it's the value play, the hidden gem, or a momentum play, let us know in the comments which one is your favorite and what kind of strategy you like to use when looking for growth in the market right now. As always, everyone, thanks for joining us and happy investing.